Okay, hi folks. I have I have all the lights turned off except for my little microwave light. I turned on the overhead light and it was just too bright. I couldn't handle it today. I am currently possibly a little bit sick, under the weather. I'm definitely on my cycle and so I'm cramping right now. I was in bed until basically 12:30 and then I got up to drop off compost. Then I went to buy some veggies and ginger and some lentils and nuts, and I need to cook because I need to eat. So I am going to put on this live while I try to make myself some food. I have some leftovers and I have some new overs, which is just uncooked produce. I have some kale in the sink that I just bought that I'm rinsing out, and I'm hoping to fold some kale into a pre-existing leftover lentil soup and heating up 2 pieces of bread and buttering them and, just eating some veggies and protein and carbs and get myself going. But currently, as I went live, my cramps just like kind of surged back up. So I need to sit for a moment and possibly take an ibuprofen, which would be a good time to take our vitamins, I guess, if they don't interfere with each other. I usually do my best to not take a lot of painkillers, but sometimes it's just not worth battling anymore. So let's take our vitamins and painkillers. My counter is full because I just emptied out the dishwasher, but have not gotten a chance to put them into their cupboards yet. Alright. Man, I don't know what is going on, if this is perimenopause or not, but my flow is definitely different. Now I don't know about my YouTube audience, the gender breakdown, but my Instagram audience is 90% female. So I feel like someone in the chat must be going through this. But yeah, my cycle's just been really strange. I've been getting like phantom pains up to 7 to 10 days before the cycle starts. And then the first day is like this real, like it almost feels like spotting. This is very different for me. And then the second day, it's just like a deluge of cramps and flow. So now I'm on second day, the deluge day. I'm taking C, D, zinc, and ibuprofen. Let's chug. Yeah, so that is what's going on in my life. Okay, I just had a thought. I was vacuuming right before I went live because in case Memo comes into the kitchen, I don't want him rolling around the dust again. But I was just thinking about how I don't know if for my entire life I've been experiencing clinical depression or if it's autistic burnout, because the more I read the symptoms of autistic burnout, the more it just sounds like depression to me. Anyway, whatever it is, whatever form of depression I've been experiencing in my life since my teenage years, it almost feels like it's evolved with me to a point where now I can recognize that I'm in a depression, and while it sucks, I recognize it for what it is, and I don't like throw myself into the throes of just like the disaster feeling of depression anymore. And it felt kind of like a parallel to me about the ways in which when you're a kid and you get sick, all you do is like cry and scream and moan because you're just like, this is awful, this is so shitty, I hate this, wah wah wah. And when you get sick as an adult, you might go through some of the same, but like not to that intensity, because you've been through it, you know what it is, and you know that like it sucks and that it's unfair that you got sick, but you're just gonna have to wait until it's over. And that's kind of what it feels like now with me and depression. It's just kind of like this recognition of, oh, here it is again. All right, I guess we'll have to do our best to weather through it. I don't know if that makes any sense or resonance with anyone else, but that occurred to me when I was vacuuming. So I guess that was my shower thought of the day, my vacuum thought of the day. So yeah, I'm just waiting for my cramps to die down a little bit so I can start cooking. But welcome to my little dimly lit kitchen today. In terms of asking for or seeking help, I have the help. Like, I have a grief counselor that I have a call with every month. I don't really know what I'm seeking help for. I don't know if this is something that can be helped, really. I've been lately questioning the premise of what it means to be mentally healthy, and how potentially the framework of being mentally ill has been weaponized on various levels throughout history. And I wonder if the terminology of, you know, how loosely defined mentally ill has become is in itself reinforcing this almost like self-subjugation of feeling like you're broken and you need help and that you need someone else to come save you. Again, it's different for everyone, right? It's a spectrum, as with everything. But I don't really know what there is to be helped. I don't think I'm in trouble, and I don't think that I even know what it means to be not this, you know? And I think this reminds me back of when I was in college and people were like, you know, don't identify with your depression. You're not your depression. And this was a refrain that I've heard, you know, even as recently as last year, you know, like, don't identify with your mental illness. You're not your mental illness. And some days throughout the last 2 decades, I've been thinking about this. Like, am I not my mental illness? First of all, this is hard to discuss without even like having a solid definition of what mental illness is and what qualifies as mental illness, you know? So then when you do have mental illness defined, you also have different categories of mental illness, right? There's like externally induced mental illness. Maybe there's some kind of biologically, chemically, brain juice imbalanced, internally induced depression. And the interaction between external and internal is kind of like the interaction between the whole nature versus nurture debate. And there is really no clear lines that can be drawn through the whole thing that encompasses a perfect definition of what mental illness is. But as far as I'm thinking about it right now, a lot of the basis of existence is just going through waves of imperfection. Whether or not we term that imperfection an illness, I think is very dependent on the framework. Different cultures define illnesses differently too. You know, yeah, like homophobia led us to think as a Western society that being gay was an illness, sick in the mind. It was in the DSM. And then you have Native American cultures who have always recognized this kind of like gender fluidity and whatnot. And you still have countries like punishing people for being gay or gender nonconforming. We have basically, you know, random people hating on each other and executing each other for being nonconforming. that's just one category. Another category that I thought about a decade ago was how Americans define eating disorders very strictly, and like, you know, there's almost like a, if you're not completely body positive, then you have some sort of an eating disorder or body image issue. Whereas like in East Asia, holy crap, by American definitions, everybody in East Asia has a body image issue and eating disorder, you know. But like, it just depends on who's drawing the lines and who's defining what. I guess at a certain point, it's always coming down to yourself and your own judgment of whether or not you need help. But yeah. Yeah, very interesting. Menopause. What a world. Well, I guess we'll have to get ready for whatever that comes with soon now. Yeah, and I've been thinking about how like depression or whatever plagues you, anxiety disorders, like I could almost see those as autoimmune diseases in a lot of ways, if we want to call it a disease, you know. Autoimmune diseases cannot be cured. They can be treated. They can be managed. And they fluctuate from person to person, and it's not necessarily that you did something to cause it to happen. So, okay, have a good day, Gary. All right, let's cook, guys. Guess I should turn the light on so that I don't chop my hands. Maybe, we'll see. You could also play me on your phone if your computer's not in your room. Yeah, I have a lot of jars. I need to put them away too. But that is very full up there. Leftover lentil soup. We're gonna pour this into the pot, and then as I chop up the kale, I'll just slip it in there and it'll all come to a simmer. I guess I'll show you my haul from today. For the folks who are interested in grocery prices, I got some ginger. This was $2 a pound. I don't actually know how much that much was. Let me see. $2 a pound. This was $1.11. 111 for all of these gingers. That's not even on sale. That's just a normal price. I got 4 pounds of red lentils for $5. And I got 3 pounds of almonds for $11. This was on sale. And I got some roasted soybeans for $7. This is about 1.75 pounds, 28 ounces. Not the cheapest thing, but I needed something crunchy to snack on. So saw that. I got a little bunch of mandarin clementines, whatever these are, for $1. And then I got some figs for $2. I don't know if these are any good, so we'll taste them soon. And that was that. That was about $30. No, that was less than $30. It was 23 and 260, so 25.60. $25.60 for ginger, soybeans, almonds, lentils, kale, oranges, figs, like that. This could have been a budget eats week. I just don't have energy to cook like that anymore. Oh, and I still have my garlic from last week, so that could definitely go in here. I'm going to chop up the stalks really, really, really fine so that it cuts through the tough fibers. And I'm also going to basically like peel off the outer edges of the really fat stalks. Kind of like how I do with broccoli stems. I just threw 5 cloves of garlic in there. Then gonna add a little bit of turmeric and black pepper. Where's my black pepper at? And just a little extra salt. And we'll let it cook. I'm going to keep chopping some extra kale to go in there. turn down the heat so that I won't splatter too much, although it already is. And then I was thinking, once the kale is mostly tender, if there's still a lot of liquid left in there, I could definitely throw in some of the mashed potato flakes, the instant potato flakes that I probably gave to my mom that my mom never used, that I've had since she passed away. So that potato flake is ancient. Okay, time for, I still have all of this kale left over. I'll probably cook it with more lentils. Ooh. Yeah, I'm making some lentil soup with kale, just simmered in there. It's leftovers. I have some dark bread that I'm gonna heat up and butter up, and we're just gonna have a simple lunch. I have this kitchery lentil and rice blend from Burlap and Barrel's newest Spice Club release. That could be delicious with some kale too, I think. But we'll see. I'm probably not gonna make that today because my cramps are worsening. Hi Thailand. How's the weather in Thailand? Gary said it looks like a cave. I want it to be a cave. Today is a cave day, you know? I just want to be bleeding in peace in my cave. In my girl cave. In my man cave. Whatever cave this is. In my kale cave. Hi Trinidad. Oh no. Yeah, take care of your blood pressure. +80 degrees. Wow. I don't think I would survive there. That sounds too warm for me. Shall we try a fig? I bought these figs for $2. I've been eyeing figs all summer long. Questionable figs for sure, but let's see. $2. What do you expect? One of them is floating and one of them is sinking, and I'm gonna guess the one that's floating is not gonna taste very good. Okay, this is the floater and this is the sinker. I'm gonna guess the sinking one is like heavier and denser with sugars, which is why it sank. I'm gonna guess this one is not very sweet. So I'm gonna start with this one. Smells almost like a bell pepper. It's actually not bad. The skins on these are tougher than I'm remembering figs used to be. I can almost squish out the flesh. So I got 10 figs for $2. 20 cents a piece. And they seem okay. Oh yeah, this one is the sweeter one for sure. Yum, not bad. Yum, 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 yum. I'm glad I finally satiated my fig craving. Hi, South Africa. It's kind of mostly cloudy today. There's been maybe a cumulative 30 minutes of sunshine peeking through with blue skies, but now it's pretty gray. It's not very cold today. It's cool, but not cold. Yeah, it feels very still. It's one of those weather days where it feels like time has paused. Sometimes it's kind of like a very nice, soothing, quaint time pause where there's maybe like some snow flurries coming down and the air feels gentle, mild, but brisk. And it carries motion and life in it, but it's like a very kind of almost closed, cloistered environment, like a snow globe. Today, it kind of just feels like one of those days where you've run out of things to say. And you're just sitting with a friend in a room, or maybe they're not even that close of a friend, and you're not sure if you have anything more to say to each other. That's how it feels like to me today. I'm probably just projecting. I've never heard of a limequat. That's very fascinating. How does a fig taste? Ooh. It's texturally wow, I don't know if I've words for another fruit that tastes the way that fig flesh tastes when fresh. It's creamy, but edging on both. It's creamy but not slimy, if that makes sense. Like, for example, bananas can be creamy but slimy. Figs are creamy but not dense like a banana. As you saw the texture when I opened it, it's very frilly almost inside. But when you get a really ripe one, it has a slight vegetal edge to it, which is why I smell the bell peppers. But it is very sweet, florally honey-like. Not as intense as the sweetness of a honey, but it does feel very honey-like to me in its sweetness. And that honey has a little bit of florality, a little bit of like perfume. I don't think it should be tart, but when it's not like a perfect fig, it can be kind of itchy and astringent on your tongue, the way that like kiwi skin might feel on your tongue. It kind of makes it a little bit prickly. These aren't, at least the two that I've had, have not had that effect on me. This is why one of my favorite things to do when I travel is to eat fruit local to the area, because I feel like fruit is very hard to describe when you haven't had certain variations of fruits. It is really, really hard to describe the texture and the fragrance of some fruits. But figs are very interesting, right? In Chinese, they're called 无花果, which means flowerless fruit. I believe they're maybe, I don't know, period, but one of, if not the only fruit that does not come out of a flower. So, no seeds either. I actually don't know how figs reproduce, but they're like a very biblical symbol. Do you worry about nitrate with reheating kale? I'm not sure, actually. I don't know anything about the nitrates in reheating kale. If you want to educate us, I would love to know. I don't even know how harmful nitrates are. So if you have more details, please share. I would love to learn. I guess I could also add a little bit of ginger in there, huh? Just a little. Break off a little piece. Okay, I'm gonna smash this with the knife, so be prepared for a loud noise in 3, 2, 1. That wasn't too loud. Oh. Figs are flowers growing inside out. They are pollinated by a wasp. Yeah, and I've heard that apparently sometimes you can find like a dried fig with a wasp inside. I don't know if I've ever found one of those. But I have found dried figs that are like black and moldy inside. I don't know what causes that to happen. Hello, New Mexico. Thank you for the education. Ginger tea today. Yeah, raspberry leaf tea seems to dwindle down my bleeding level, but it does not seem to help with cramps. And I've discovered that ginger tea is helpful when I drink it in the days leading up to a period, but when I drink it on the day of, sometimes it can even aggravate my cramps. Again, this is a sample size of like 2 to 3 months, so not scientific at all. But unfortunately, I've had like really bad cramping in those 2 to 3 months where I have not had a desire to repeat them again. A lot of these herbs are very like, you know, your mileage may vary person to person. I'm starting to think about what I can put in the soup, if anything else. But I'm starting to think the mashed potato flakes could be a good idea. Alright, I have a weird desire to eat with my Chinese soup spoon today. I don't know why, because I usually hate this shape of spoon. But I'm gonna taste a kale stem and see how tender it is. Okay, let's get in there. Might as well go full Chinese today. Oh. I thought about buying chickpeas today too. I went through my last bag of 4 pounds really quickly, which is why I'm taking a break. You can make curries, you can make hummus, you can make roasted chickpeas, you can make a chickpea salad, you can make a mock tuna salad with chickpeas. No, I think I bought those both. My parents didn't have like the stereotypical Chinese bowls. They had Chinese made bowls, but not like these patterns. Yeah, I don't think I'm going anywhere for Thanksgiving. I'm just gonna chill at home. Hopefully my period will be done by then, but probably not. I went to drop off the compost today, and the man handling the compost, volunteers today, wished me a happy Thanksgiving, and I had not even realized that it's in 5 days. Time, what is it? What is time? Okay. Here are the potato flakes. Let's put just a little bit in to thicken. If this is the one I'm thinking of, could be Bob's Red Mill. Not sure though anymore. Ooh, there's a whole star anise in here. Let me fish that out. Okay. I'm gonna serve myself a spoonful and we can taste for seasoning. And then we're ready to eat. Ooh. I also bought more sweet potatoes. I hope I have more energy to cook tomorrow. That would be nice. Could roast some sweet potato fries. Make more kale and lentils. Set myself up for the week ahead. If you are subscribed to the Burlap and Barrel newsletter, get ready to have one almost every day now. I will be writing them. We are going heavy into gifting season, and we will be running a sale starting tomorrow. So that's my sneak peek for you folks who are spice people. That's pretty good. Ooh, nice hit of ginger. Yes. Great. Nice. I think we can turn the heat off that now. Time to toast my leftover bread. This was bought like over 6 months ago, I think in May. You watched me eat the first few slices of this. We're now down to the last two. I got this from the Tashkent market, I think. Butter, butter, butter. Guys, just so you know, Burlap and Barrel does have a pay what you can program. You just have to reach out to customer service. And depending on what you can pay, we can ship you, I think 6-pack of spices, whichever 6 you want. Obviously don't take advantage of it. We've had people like ask for 12 jars of vanilla powder and saffron, aka the most expensive spices on earth, for like a 90% off discount. Don't do that. But yeah, we have a pay what you can program. So if you can't pay the sticker price, just feel free to message customer service. Yeah, we thought about advertising it because, you know, the SNAP program fell through and everything, but our customer service team is literally 3-4 people, and we just knew that the number of requests coming in if we advertise it would be like too much volume for us to handle, especially as we head into this holiday shopping season. But yeah, that program exists year round. So do know that if you're tight on funds, we'll probably be able to accommodate you at a much lower price point. Weird. Now that I've cooked everything, I don't want to eat anymore. Yeah, the tomato powder is co-founder Ori's favorite. He keeps saying, I love the tomato powder. So that one is pretty good. It works very well as a tomato paste substitute. So it's a much shelf-stable version of tomato paste. Damn, I don't think that ibuprofen is working today. Rough times. Rough times. Here is the texture after we've added the potato starch. Not runny at all, but also not stodgy yet. Does anyone have any movie recommendations for me if I can't do anything else today except lie in bed and stare? Nah. I appreciate the shout out for thumbs up, but don't thumbs up the channel, guys. Just keep it between you and me. I think the smaller the channel is, the better it is, honestly. I've been thinking about this a lot. I think the more people you accumulate, the more it directs and changes your behavior. Just knowing that the number of spectators present, I don't know, it feels like an automatic fluctuation in the level of performance. So small is good, big is good, they're just different. You do what you like, when you like it. Am I going anywhere for Christmas? No, I don't think I'm going to go anywhere, honestly. I don't really have an appetite for going anywhere. I feel kind of lost in myself, if that makes sense. And I don't want you to like worry or feel bad or sad for me. I'm just trying to express what it feels like going through day to day right now for me. It does feel like I'm in an existential hibernation. And I think that's okay. I think a lot has happened. After Grandma passed away, I was assigned a grief counselor. And I've been having a call with her every month since Grandma passed away. So I guess starting in January, February. And I just had a call with her 2 days ago on Thursday. This will be our basically like third to last call, right? She's only with me for a year. And I think this was the first time that I actually started speechlessly crying on the call, which I wasn't expecting, but somehow grief is sort of like clockwork. Again, it's a sample size of 2. I've only had my mom pass away and Grandma pass away, so I don't really know how to draw any conclusion from this. But even given the limited experience with grief that I've had, it does feel like the 2-month mark before the anniversary of a death feels the most emotionally volatile and exhausting. I noticed this on the first anniversary of my mom's death, that the August before her anniversary, 2 months before she passed away in October, I started feeling deeply depressed and like sad. And it happened again the next year. And I was like, oh, maybe you're just making it a thing for yourself now that you think you had a bad August and now every August is going to be the worst. But I didn't even realize it until I cried on this call with my counselor that it is now 2 months before Grandma's death anniversary. She passed away in January. You know, it could be seasonal depression too. It could be all of that. It could be everything together. And it definitely is everything together. But it does feel like I do have a pattern of 2 months before a death anniversary. It feels rockier and more turbulent and unstable. So given that, I am just letting myself exist and do whatever, you know. I think to try to make my life more abundant with activities or work or tasks is a valid way to go. But currently I just don't have a lot of motivation and drive and reason to do it. So I look at this period of my life as a sort of hiatus. Who knows, right? Some people take a whole decade as a hiatus. Maybe I'll do that. Or maybe this is just the beginning of my permanent retirement. Not only work and professionally, but maybe like a lifestyle retirement of sorts. Just laying back, laying low. The Outrun on Netflix. Okay, thank you for that. Smoke signals. Interesting. Okay. Oh, Nigella. Thank you for the recommendations. Yeah, I've thought about grief groups, you know. There's definitely virtual grief groups, and I thought about it, but I just didn't want to sit in another Zoom room, you know. I don't want to stare at my computer screen anymore. And I would love to gather with people in person. That would be nice. But I think I might have gotten sick because I gathered with friends, just two friends who have kids who go to daycare, you know. So it's hard, right? It's hard because I am also like physically weak. My health isn't so great. I would love yeah. A lot of things to balance. What does NAMI stand for? Let me look it up. National Alliance on Mental Illness. Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, if it's a national group, I'm sure they have groups in New York. I just don't know how COVID cautious everyone is, you know. It's always kind of a risk now to gather in groups, especially with people who aren't immunocompromised and don't take the same precautions. My physical health affects my mental health affects my physical health. It's kind of just like, which half do you want to tend to today? It's really difficult sometimes because you know that you have people who care about you, but sometimes they can't care for you and about you in the same way that you need to be cared for and about. So it's always up to you to make that choice, right? Some friends really want to see me, but I know for sure they go to places, they don't mask up. They can survive getting a cold or whatever. Whether or not I have a good time surviving that is another matter. Oh, The Room Next Door. I've seen it. I've seen that film. That was a very heavy film, but like filled with a lot of fleeting beauty, including the actresses. I don't know if I like Almodovar films. I don't think I've seen too many, but there's always a layer of like theatrical aesthetic to his movies that prevent me from being immersed. So I'm always watching his movies as like an aesthetic presentation. I guess I prefer movies that really draw me in and just kind of like absorb me into it. I don't hate his films. I think they're just a different kind of art than the one that really feels like it's on the same frequency as me, if that makes sense. But yeah, I remember reading the synopsis of that film and feeling like, oh, I would love that film. That sounds like my kind of subject matter. But, and it was. And I watched it and I was like, But again, it feels like going to a play rather than a story that you could almost like imagine yourself living through. There's always this kind of like layer, this invisible screen separating me and his movies and the stories. Ghosts on Netflix. You guys still subscribe to Netflix? Is it still worth a subscription? Is it from 2021? Is it horror? Is it animated? That lentil soup is exactly what I needed. Okay, guys. Cheers on the toast. Cheers on feeding yourself. Cheers on staying alive and being kind and slow and accepting. I think we have undervalued slowness. Like, it's okay if nothing feels like it's happening. Sometimes life just doesn't happen that fast. I've looked into EMDR. It's very fascinating for sure. And obviously I haven't practiced it with a formal therapist, but I've tried some exercises on my own, and I don't think I have like, I don't think, right? Keyword think. I don't think I have like deep-seated traumas like that. But I do find that when I did those exercises, they do calm me in the moment. So I think it's always this kind of like mental overloading that certain physically derived therapies help with. You know, you could go out for a run, you could exercise. That's been scientifically proven to help your mental health. But also just the way that you're kind of like focused on moving your muscles, your facial muscles too. You know, you're tapping into an attention that you're not used to tapping into, and it just kind of redirects the focus. I thought about this the other day when like a toddler was having a tantrum. Sometimes I think the more you try to make them feel better, the louder they cry. Sometimes what they need is distraction, maybe. If the comforting and the sinking into the feelings isn't really helping but exacerbating. And I thought about how it paralleled my experience with grandma. You know, sometimes she just needed the nurse to come in and like dance and make her laugh. And then she would go from screaming and crying to suddenly just giggling, you know. And maybe she'll go back to screaming and crying again, because the emotions don't just go away like that. But sometimes what you do need is like a foil in the moment to kind of stop the brakes on escalating the negative feelings. Sort of like inertia, you know, like emotional inertia. Wow, old Gwyneth Paltrow. I would like to see some vintage Gwyneth Paltrow, I think. Yes, another human can definitely regulate, or it can dysregulate, which is what I found out during dating. Pros and cons everywhere, guys. Pros and cons everywhere. But I think it's also nice to try to regulate myself. There's a certain degree of, the ceiling that you hit, but it's nice to be able to try to develop that skill on my own. I think a lot of my dating issues probably stemmed from my own inability to regulate myself, always seeking some other person, right? Always having the habit of having another person confirm my reality for me, to prove that I'm not a bad person, to say that I'm worthwhile and whatever, which is very dysregulating when you're constantly seeking that. So now it is just my time to try to practice. I'm gonna look up all these movies you guys are throwing into the chat. Sliding Doors is a 1999 romance comedy from Gwyneth Paltrow. Okay. Life After Life. Is that a TV series? From 2022? 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Wow. That's a lot of good critique. Oh, a film, right. You said that. Let me Google film. Yeah, you lost that video because Gemini AI popped up on my phone and I didn't realize it. AI is listening. I don't know what trigger word. Maybe I said Google. But hopefully you can see me now and hear me now. AI is everywhere now, And despite me opting out of everything AI, I still get automatically defaulted to having it. Bye, Faye. I'll probably log off soon too. Go read a book or something. Thank you for all of these recommendations. And thanks for cooking lunch and eating with me. Let's go see if Memo wants to say hi to us. Hello. We've come to say hi. How you feeling, babes? Yeah, that's how I feel too. All right, folks. I hope you take care and have a good day and eat some good stuff. Rest up. See you around.